asked people back home in New Jersey how they felt about this moment in our country. And what I heard falls into this category of saying that they said that they felt like things are spinning out of control. That every day feels like a new crisis. Every day the anxiety grows deeper. Every day it seems like we move further from a solution. And in order to find a solution to this moment, we need to understand the problem. The problem that we face and that I want to talk about with you today is that we have a government that has been hijacked at the highest levels by people who act like mob bosses. Now, I get it. I'm from Jersey. We know a thing or two about mob bosses. But I want to be clear. This isn't pulling off a Lufthansa heist or having members of your crew get lost in the Pine Barrens. This is about a Trump administration that is using the same tactics we've seen time and time again in movies and in real life. Extortion, corruption, intimidation, and violence. All of these things that have become hallmarks of the Trump presidency. And I bring them up today, 6 days into a government shutdown, because this is what the Trump administration is focused on. The Trump administration is not focused on lowering your costs. If they were, they'd be here at the Capitol today, working to find a way to lower healthcare costs as we're about to see them spike for millions of Americans, potentially kicking large numbers off their coverage who can't afford it. The Trump administration is not focused on creating jobs or creating economic opportunities. If they were, they'd be here in both the Senate and the House today, working to make sure that we're investing in the kinds of things only government can provide. Things that make us more competitive, more innovative, more prosperous. The Trump administration is certainly not focused on keeping you and your family safer. If they were, they'd be here at the Capitol today, in both chambers, working to get our troops paid or to address the real challenges at home and abroad that threaten our security. Instead, this administration and leaders here in this Capitol have shut down this government so they can focus on the things that they want, to use government to further corruption so that they can funnel money to their billionaire donors, to use government as a tool to extort the American people to bend to their will, to weaponize government to intimidate Americans through violence who dare oppose their actions by even just speaking out. Corruption, extortion, and intimidation through violence. This is how the Trump administration wants to use your government against you. Now, like every great mob movie, it's not just about the boss who plays a critical role. For every Don Corleone, there's a Tom Hagen and a Luca Brasi. Donald Trump plays the role of the mob boss, but it's his henchmen who are really running the show. Russell Vought and Stephen Miller, they're not public servants. Public servants, they work to serve the public. They work towards a public good. Russ Vought and Stephen Miller are straight out of Scorsese. These two men are running an operation on corruption, extortion, and intimidation that would make Al Capone jealous. Let's start with Russ Vought. Russ Vaught's entire existence, his reason for being, is to cut every program the American people can possibly rely on so that the billionaires who fund his work can get another tax cut. Money goes to him, money goes back to them, none of it goes to you. Pure corruption. But it's not enough for Russ Vought to just funnel billions to his backers. He has to take from you just to remind you of his power, just to bring you to heel. That's why last week he announced that he was freezing $18 billion for critical infrastructure projects in New York and New Jersey. One of them is the Hudson Tunnel Project, which is critical to our region's economy. In fact, when I asked Secretary Duffy about this at his confirmation hearing, he said it was a project of national importance, critical for our nation, not just our region. It's essential to our pursuit to bring infrastructure into the 21st century, and it supports tens of thousands of jobs. But Russell Vought decided to freeze that money out of nothing but political retribution. He decided to freeze this money because he thinks he can punish the people of New Jersey for demanding the government actually work for them, for demanding that we actually work to lower costs. It doesn't just stop at New Jersey. He froze billions in dollars for transit projects in Chicago and more than $8 billion in Department of Energy projects in states across the country just because those states voted for Democrats in the last election. Didn't try to stop those exact types of projects in states that voted for Donald Trump in the last election. Russell Vought acts like a mob boss because he thinks he can use his levers of government to funnel money to his friends and take away your services when you've gotten out of line. Last week, I went to New Jersey for a day and heard from my constituents about how they're seeing this shutdown. And one woman said something that really stuck out to me. Because I asked her, if you had a chance to be able to say one thing to Donald Trump and these Republican negotiators, what would it be? And this was an independent voter. She said, I would want to tell them that it's our money. It's the American people's money, not Trump's personal bank account. She's absolutely right. This isn't Russell Vought's money to take away whenever he pleases. We've seen him do that through something called rescissions, something that completely ignores the framework our founding fathers put in place nearly 250 years ago. That Congress, on the behalf of you, the people, decide how your money is spent. And when that decision is made on behalf of you, your will, your money can't be overturned and taken away simply because a single bureaucratic mob boss decides to exercise his power. It's not just taking money away. We need to remember that this isn't Russ Vought's money to use as a tool to extort his imagined enemies into following his orders. We need to remember that this is your money, it's your government, and it should work for you. But right now, the Trump administration isn't working for you. It's working to grow and consolidate its own power. And that brings us to our second mob boss, Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller thinks he's the enforcer. He thinks it's his job to defeat Donald Trump's enemies. And again, like Russell Vought, he doesn't seem to see himself as a public servant. He's not even here to make your family safer or to protect your country. Let's look at how Stephen Miller operates as a mob boss. Stephen Miller and this administration have taken the issue of our broken immigration system, and instead of working to actually fix it, they've used it as an excuse to rapidly militarize parts of our government and deploy them against our own people in our own cities, in our own towns. It starts with going after criminals, people who should actually be sought after and detained, but that's not where it stops. We have seen thousands of American service members sent into American cities. We have as many National Guard, we have as many Americans in uniform here in Washington, D.C. than we do in Iraq. We have seen American weapons of war, including Black Hawk helicopters, used against Americans in places like Chicago. And we have seen Miller and other members of this administration effectively call anyone who simply disagrees with them terrorists, including the Democratic Party, while calling for the use of state power to dismantle them. Now, I want to reflect on that phrase for a moment, state power. Stephen Miller isn't talking about using the power of our government to make your lives better or work for you. He's not talking about using it to make your neighborhoods safer. He's talking about using it against you if you get out of line. He's talking about using it against anyone who disagrees with this administration, for anyone who stands in their way. We know that because Donald Trump has basically told us so. He told a room of all of his nation's top military officials, seemingly convened only to show he had the power to do so, that they should prepare for a, quote, war from within. He told the leaders of the most powerful military in the history of the world to prepare to battle the, quote, enemy from within. That means Americans at home. And again, we know that because Donald Trump has said it. In the same convening, he said he wants to use American cities as training grounds for the military. American cities, places where we live, where we go to work, where we bring our kids to school. That is where Donald Trump wants to exercise power over you. We have the finest military in the world. The purpose of that military is to defend our Constitution, to defend the American people, to deter our enemies and be prepared to fight them if necessary. The American people are not that enemy. And deploying our military in America's streets weakens our readiness to defend against real threats. Donald Trump and Stephen Miller and this administration will keep finding new excuses to seize power and threaten to use it against you. In the words of a federal judge, one that Trump appointed, ours, quote, is a nation of constitutional law, not martial law. And the actions of the Trump administration, quote, risk blurring the lines between civil and military federal power to the detriment of this nation. We are seeing this administration launch military strikes against individuals from Venezuela with no legal authorization or justification. We're seeing this administration, Mr. Miller specifically, call legal decisions that he doesn't like, quote, an organized terrorist attack. We're seeing this administration use intimidation and violence as tools not to make us safer, as if that was ever acceptable, but to make us submit. At the end of the day, that is this administration's aim, submission. Like every mob boss, they want you to kiss the ring. They want your loyalty, but not just that, they want your fealty. And the things they don't understand is that Americans don't bend the knee. We don't kiss the ring. We don't pledge loyalty to a boss. This is the people's government. It's not a tool for corruption. It's not a tool for extortion. It's not a tool for intimidation and violence. It is a tool for growing opportunity and prosperity. It is a tool for providing security and freedom. And it's a tool for everyone, not just the bosses. So yes, we need to work to reopen our government. And in doing so, we need to make sure that people don't drown under a wave of rising healthcare costs. But we can't lose sight that this isn't the only fight we've got in front of us. President Trump has handed power to Russ, Vought and Stephen Miller, and they've used that power to take away your opportunities, your security, and your freedoms. When we reopen the government, we need to fight to make sure it's working for you, the American people. You deserve better than to live under the thumb of mob bosses. We're going to fight every day to make sure that you can. Thank you, and I yield back.